think Elliott should do rule number 2.
Actually, I think you should do rule number 2.
Oh, goodness gracious. No one likes rule number 2.
Okay.
I can't read my writing.
No, don't.
And I can't read Nigel's either.
Welcome to Business Growth Central with the Bottrells.
The father and son's team who built dozens of 7-figure businesses.
And generated over £100 million in sales.
And since 2010, we've run Entrepreneur Circle, the UK's largest organisation helping businesses to grow.
Every week we're sharing practical tactics,
Swipeable strategies.
And powerful nuggets to help you to grow your business. This is Business Growth Central.
with the Bottrells.
Yes, welcome back to Business Growth Central. As always, I'm Nigel Bottrell, the founder of Entrepreneur Circle.
I'm Cameron Bottrell, Managing Director here at Entrepreneur Circle.
And I'm Elliott Bottrell, the Chief Marketing Officer here at Entrepreneur Circle. And if you're a business owner and you have a challenge or problem that you're facing and you want our help, then email us at podcast@entrepreneurcircle.org and you may just be featured on the next episode of Business Growth Central.
Very good.
Wow.
That was...
What a rush.
That was...
What a rush. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Well, I think that's a great audition.
Just
Thank
for the
you.
benefit of the audience, that was Elliott's first time at doing the little intro spiel about sending in your question. And
Drop a comment below if I should do this every week.
let's see how people feel about that.
It's not a democracy.
Anyway, yes.
Well
welcome
done,
back.
Elliott.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank
Well
you.
done,
Thank
Elliott.
you.
Yeah.
Wow, guys. Busy week this week. What's going on?
We are, big live event coming up.
It's Monday.
We love a live event, don't we?
Don't we just in person this one?
Yeah, we have 3 major live events every year, Entrepreneur Circle. I mean, we're running live events like every day here at ECHQ. We have about 100, between 80 and 100 entrepreneurs most days coming here for different workshops and courses and training and stuff that we do. But 3 times a year, we open up to the entire EC membership, of which there are many thousands of business owners, and we run a big convention in the autumn. That's in September this year at the ICC,
The ICC.
International Convention Centre in Birmingham. That's our biggest event. We have 1,500 people turn up for that one.
And then we do
which-
these little smaller conferences, which have like 500 people.
Yeah,
Over at the Vox, which is the prestige venue within the NEC group.
it's right on site at the NEC, and it's on Monday. It's the first one of the year because we do like to start the year strong, and this is a 2-day event. And it's,
Business health check.
yes.
Dr. Nigel will see you now.
And it is these events, have become now. It is me effectively kind of teaching for 2 days, so the pressure's on me.
Must order that white coat for you, actually. Reminds me. Get that stethoscope
I have
out.
my stethoscope ready. So that's taking up quite a lot of my time at the moment.
Yeah, well, there we go. That's good. I'll tell you what I saw the other day, actually, just on the topic of in-person experiences. I saw this thing about the Ritz-Carlton, a big fancy hotel chain, and how they empower their staff. And how actually it was the thing that revolutionized the chain. It's, going back a few years now when it wasn't as big and glamorous and as renowned for, the exceptional service that you get. And basically they built this, what's the word? Oh God, what is the word?
They built a hotel.
This scheme.
They built a hotel, yes, many, many years ago. But once they built the hotel, they made it common knowledge amongst the team, amongst the staff, that every member of the Ritz-Carlton team, no matter who you are, from janitorial there all the way up to management here, has the right to spend up to $2,000 to improve a guest's experience when
Oh,
they're
that's
staying at
interesting.
the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
And what that did, obviously, most people thought that was a crazy thing to do. You can imagine what the flipping finance guy was doing, probably running out the window.
He was on holiday.
Right? But what it meant was suddenly all the staff felt so empowered and were able to do so much stuff that didn't really cost $2,000, but it meant that they could go above and beyond to create this incredible experience. And so you had situations where, housekeeping staff, a customer had left their laptop in a hotel room and they needed it for a big presentation and it was like a really big deal. So she literally got the laptop and flew to the customer's hometown and delivered the laptop and stuff for them because it made sure that it got there in safe hands. And, people dropping in that it was their, a special anniversary or a special occasion, and actually the things that staff could then do to make that so special. And it's interesting because Any numbers person would tell you that was a crazy thing to do, to just spend money like that, because all these people, they've already booked rooms, they're already staying there. What's the payoff for this? But what it did was it just made every person who works at the Ritz-Carlton just completely lock in and be so focused on creating incredible experiences for people. It meant that suddenly the Ritz-Carlton became like the only hotel chain that so many people would ever stay at. Imagine the stories of people recommending hotels and the Ritz-Carlton to different people if someone had done like a crazy big gesture to you. And I think it was quite interesting because we do little itty bitty gestures of this here at Entrepreneur Circle,
We've sent some chocolates.
Exactly. But, our team upstairs, our member success team, actually are KPI'd on actually creating what we call magical moments.
KPI, a key performance indicator. It's
Performance.
it's part of their success. Their job is to spot opportunities to do something that will cause a wow.
To create magical moments. And so, we've got, they've got whole collections of different cards that they can send out, happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy well done this, well done that. We have a budget to send out gifts to our members, celebratory things. If someone tells us they've done something, shares a success, we will send them stuff. And what it does is it means that we just enhance that connection in our customers between, elation, joy, excitement, wow, look at this, and Entrepreneur Circle in this instance, like the Ritz-Carlton did there. And it got me thinking that really we should up our gifting budget, actually, and we should start spending more and investing in that experience and actually bringing our members closer to us and doing more for them like that, like the Ritz-Carlton. But I actually think it's really interesting. It's one of those kind of left field business tactics that you wouldn't get on a business course,
I like that a lot. I know Pret a Manger have a similar version, not quite $2,000, but I know
That's a lot of coffee.
I know each of their staff members, I think it's £50 a day that they can give away in terms of free stuff to anyone every single day. Happened to me once when I was getting my coffee and almond croissant. Yeah, it was very nice.
You do like a croissant, don't you?
I do like a croissant. But there's a really good book called Talk Triggers, and it's about this whole concept of implementing things in your business that trigger people to talk. Because I think what people underestimate is that word of mouth, people telling other people, is one of the only exponential forms of marketing and getting customers that you can get. And so it's actually way more powerful. Because what I mean by that is if you want to get more customers through traditional marketing means, the more you do, you get a very kind of linear return. If I spend more on ads, sure, I'll get a few more customers, but it's like directly proportional to how much I spend. Word of mouth, though, 1 tells 2, 2 can tell 4, 4 can tell 8, and all of a sudden, this is where the whole virality and ability to get huge amounts of customers kind of comes from. And whether you like it or not, people talk about your business. Are they talking good things or are they talking bad things?
It's why we've got a butler.
Yes. Not the only reason why.
Why we've got disco toilets.
The disco toilets are a talking point for sure.
Why we've got a chef.
Yeah.
How good is chef?
Well, Chef is great. If you're ever in town, guys, come on in to ECHQ, try some of Chef's delicious cuisine.
We have got some members using us as a service station,
As you would.
They were in last week. They were travelling from Southampton to Newcastle. And they are long-term members of Entrepreneur Circle. And I bumped into them in reception. And they said, we're just stopping off. And I realised that
Just wanted to
actually
use the disco
they
toilets.
literally were using us as a service station.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what? I thought that's all right, that. Don't mind that.
It's one of the perks of membership, guys.
Don't mind that. Use it as a service station. Junction 4, the M42. That's where it goes. So yeah, that is very interesting, the Ritz-Carlton. I went, I had a little bit of it. I don't know, is the Ritz part of the Ritz-Carlton? I actually don't know the answer to that question. I feel like it should be, but it feels like it's got a
definitely
different. I mean, I know it's Ritz, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a cheese cracker. They're not part of the Ritz-Carlton, are they? They're different. But the
That was terrible.
But the Ritz, but the I don't know if this is linked to what you said at all. But I remember and still talk about a moment, a magic moment
Mhm.
that happened to me 32 years ago. 32 years ago, that's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of fingers.
And so when me and your mother,
Mm-hmm.
we got married in Jamaica, as you may have heard. You may have seen the photographs.
Yeah, man.
No, Irie. And we were going out to Jamaica, and we were going out there to get married. And we were flying out on Easter Monday morning. And I thought it would be a nice thing to do, given that we were going out to Jamaica to get married. Family members were coming along a week or so later, in time for the wedding. I thought it would be nice if I booked 2 nights at the Ritz Hotel on Piccadilly before we flew out to Jamaica from Gatwick Airport. And so we had a lovely time at the Ritz. Never been to Ritz before that day, and it was really exciting going to the Ritz. It was a nice way to start that trip. And on the Easter Sunday night, I went to the concierge at the Ritz and said, I just want to check. I need to get to Victoria Station in the morning for the Gatwick Express, and I just want to make sure I need to leave quite early. I need to leave at 6 o'clock. The flight's quite early. Do I need to order a taxi or book a taxi, or will there be taxis around? And he said, there's always taxis around. Just call ahead. We'll come get your luggage. We'll get you in a taxi. So we had our last night in the Ritz, got up very early. I had a lovely room service breakfast. I had kedgeree in a copper pot. I still remember it now. And we came downstairs with the luggage, and this is like 5:45 on Easter Monday morning, and Piccadilly was deserted. There was nobody. There was nothing. There was no traffic. There were no people. It was like, I've never seen it as quiet and deserted. I thought, I'm going to get to my train, not to get anything. And we waited a few minutes, and the guy's looking from there. He's up and down, and there's like nothing out there at all. That's why I spoke to your colleague last night. He said, I don't have to worry. There's always taxis. I'm going to get to Victoria. He said, wait there. And he disappeared. And a couple of months later, this Nissan Bluebird emerged from and it was quite a knackered Nissan Bluebird, but the guy, bless him, the night porter, it was his car. And he went into the car and he pulled up in his own car out in his rich uniform, and he put our cases in the back and he bundled me and Sue in, and he drove us to Victoria Station in his own car. And that was just like such an amazing thing to happen. And I just know that would not have happened at most hotels.
Yeah.
The truth is, sorry, nothing we can do. There's no taxis. And I don't know whether it comes from the same principle that you talked about, because there was no money involved as such, but he went and got his Nissan Bluebird. He had to take his child's baby seat out the back so we could get in, and he drove us to Victoria Station.
Oh,
and that is third, because it'll be our 33rd wedding anniversary in April. So that's 33 years. Wow, long time.
I wonder where he is now.
Who knows?
Maybe he's listening. Oh my God. If you're the guy, please write in. podcast@entrepreneurcircle.org.
Anyway,
Have you ever had a magical moment at a hotel?
It's funny you should say that. I actually... Oh my God.
No time for that. A business owner needs help.
Oh.
some people are not getting the gag on that. I've had correspondence complaining that we never let you finish it's part of the joke.
Justice for Elliott. Comment below, guys.
Guys, I can't control when business owners ask their questions. Someone just emailed podcast@entrepreneurcircle.org. Goodness gracious.
It's Claire Duke.
Claire Duke.
Claire Duke. She runs a dog walking franchise.
Ooh.
Nice.
In a recent episode, says Claire, you talked about scorecards and the revenue worm. What is a worm? Apparently, it shows how your business is performing over time. Thank you, Claire. It does indeed. We'll answer that in a minute. I love the idea of having a simple system that keeps me and my team focused, accountable, and actually moving forward, but I've no clue where to start. What should go on my scorecard? How often should I update it? And what on earth is this worm thing? How does it actually work in real life? I want a way to make sure nothing slips, that the team stay aligned, and that we're always pushing the needle. And be careful when you're walking dogs, Claire. Pushing the needle is dangerous. How do I set this up properly?
You've also got to be careful with worms.
Yes, that's also true with dogs, isn't it?
It's a much better little link there, actually. Yeah. You can have that one for free.
So, gosh, what a lot to unpack.
Let's get started. I think this is a great question. These are two of my favorite things, scorecards and worms.
Which one comes out on top?
Oh, you know what? It has to be worms.
Really?
Worms every day. And we're not talking about little wiggly worms.
Although you do have wiggly worms every month on our staff briefing.
All right, they're not... You're going to confuse the poor audience here. Okay. We're not talking about the little pink things in the ground. Worms are a tremendous tool, I think, for tracking your business performance. And they work at every level. At a business level, also team level, individual level even. Any time you want to track a metric, whether that is revenue, whether that's number of sales, whether that's, any insert, whatever KPI you want to do, magical moments, for example, worms just allow you to so easily visualize what that is. I think you probably have the best explanation of this because it comes from cricket, doesn't
it does come from cricket. And I been a Yorkshireman, Claire. I am a cricket lover, and I was watching cricket on TV. This is about 10 years ago, and what happens when the I guess it applies in test matches, but in particular when they're playing limited over cricket. So let's just say, Claire, it's a 50-over match between two teams. And this is when I first saw my first worm, and England were playing New Zealand in the World Cup in a 50-over match. And New Zealand went into bat first. And they showed a chart on the TV screen which had, on the horizontal axis across the bottom, it was the number of overs from 0 to 50. So as the innings goes on,
like the time of the game,
exactly, it's the time moving on the horizontal axis, and then up the side on the left-hand axis, they had the score of the New Zealand team. So you could plot on the worm what the score was after every over.
A cumulative running total.
So that's what it was. So it runs up, and it obviously always goes up because you can't go backwards in cricket. So it's a line that goes up, and obviously if you hit a 6, it goes up a lot. If you hit a single, it goes up a little bit, and if you don't score anything, it stays flat. And so you see that, but it moves along every ball. The thing's moving on, and that's interesting when the first team are batting, but it starts to become really useful when the second team go into bat. Because now you can see, because in cricket it's like who's winning, and because you don't know, because we're chasing 232, and we're 76 for 1. Is that good or bad? Well, let's have a look at the worm, because on the worm we can see, well, where were New Zealand at this point after 20 overs? They were at this score, and England are at this score, and we can see where people are above or behind. And I just thought, I remember when I was sat on my sofa at home, and I thought I could use that in my business. And it's very simple. Most worms are run off Excel spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very simple thing.
Because it's really just a graph.
That's
isn't
all
it?
That's exactly
a
all,
line
that's,
graph.
that's exactly all it is. And so we set targets. So we have a revenue target for this year. Client our business, for all different parts of our business, but let's the overall business. We've got a revenue target. We know where our revenue should be at the end of each week this year. So 52 weeks for us, as opposed to 50 overs at cricket. We know where the revenue should be at the end of each week. We've also got our revenue at the end of every week going back for the last 6 years now, so they all show on the graph as well. And then we've got our target for this year, so we've got the target line mapped out for the whole year, and then we can plot our actuals against it. And what you see, it takes a year in our business for the worm to crawl across the page, because every week it expands, and we move another week on, and we know where it should be against its target. And I hope I've described that in a way that kind of works, Claire. I'm sure we can probably, the guys will cut a picture of the worm.
Oh yeah, we'll do some visuals
into this little bit of the broadcast. But that's what a worm is, and it just requires you to have targets, idea that you are working towards, and worms work best when things are happening, certainly on a weekly basis.
Well, depends on the worm. So I find back when I used to manage the sales team here, worms were an incredible tool for the sales team, but those were monthly worms. So that took the month of January, and it went from the 1st January to the 31st January down the bottom. And if the team were targeted to sell 50 things that month
in January,
then the target line goes from 0 to 50 in a nice straight line, whoop, because it assumes if you did everything in a nice orderly way, as you should do as a salesperson, whoop, then that's where our sales would be. And then we start tracking sales every day. So on the 1st January, we've made no sales. So we've flatlined. We're behind the target line now. On the 2nd January, we make 2 sales. Oh, we've caught up. Da, 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 da. And then you track your actual sales in the month versus your target. And so you can see if you're above or below the line. And suddenly, for the sales team, the game became, we've got to stay above the line. Because as long as you're above the line,
you're above target.
The little rhyme we had is, if we're above the line, then everything's fine. And that was a great motivational tool for them. And it got to the point where, obviously, we only work a 4-day week here at Entrepreneur Circle. So Monday to Thursday. Then you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. But the worm doesn't quit. So the target line goes straight through. So it means that normally you've got your actual line, and then it kind of flatlines for the weekend, and then goes up again. And so the game became, how can we get the worm so far ahead of the target line that when we come back in on Monday, we're still above the line. And that was a big driver for them. And the truth is, I think worms like that, when you've got the visual representation, where you can see at a glance how you're performing, either as a business, as a team, or as an individual, I think that's so much more powerful than looking at a spreadsheet or looking at the numbers themselves.
Well, because the human brain, for most people, and there are exceptions to this, there are weirdos that like maths, but for the rest of us as human beings, we can see a picture, we can understand a picture, and all a worm is really is a picture of numbers. As Cameron said, really, I mean, technically we could call it a graph, but it's just not as interesting, Claire. You'd never have sent us a question if we talked about a graph. So we call it a worm because the worm kind of creeps across the page. And we got that term from the cricket because they do call it the worm on cricket. How's the worm getting on? And it moves across the line. And I love that, if it's above the line, everything's fine. And so if it's above the line, that's like pushing the needle. Everything's fine, Claire. That's kind of where you where you want to be. But the other thing Claire was talking about was scorecards, Elliott. What should go on a scorecard? How often should she update it?
Scorecards are tremendously powerful things when you have them in place in a business. The worm, love a good worm. Totally agree with everything you guys have said. But a scorecard is the next kind of layer of visibility, I find, because obviously you can have more than one number on a scorecard, which is where it differs slightly to the worms. And so we have lots of scorecards in our business. We have a core scorecard that we as the leadership team look at.
We call it the business scorecard. It's the key numbers for the business overall.
Exactly. And so, well, let's start there, shall we? What were the 10 things that went into the creation of our beautiful business scorecard?
You mean the 10 scorecard rules?
Dun, dun, dun. I sure do.
Wow. Well, yes. The truth is that I think to do scorecards properly, then there are certain rules to follow. I think, just so we're clear, a scorecard is like, it's the cousin of the worm, because where a worm is a graph, a scorecard is a table. So you've got the key metrics that you want to track on a weekly basis, and then you've got the weeks going along the top. So you've got, in this case, in January, so a great time to start a scorecard. You've got week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then you've got the key metrics that you want to track. And again, like we've said, you can have this at every level, at business level overall, at divisional or team levels, and where it's most useful, I think, really at individual levels as well. So you can say, as bring it back to sales, as a salesperson on the sales team, you've got your own individual scorecard. And so what are the key metrics? What are the things that tell us whether you are actually achieving your purpose in this role? Are you doing what you need to be doing? What metrics are going to tell us that? And then let's track them on a weekly basis so we can see actually if you're having success, if you're winning the week. So for a salesperson, the key metrics might start with number of calls. If they're doing outbound calls, it might be number of calls, number of outbound calls, might be number of booked calls. See how many calls they've got going on. Might be show up rate for that week. What's the show up rate of their calls? Then it's sales is easy. So show up rate, close rate.
So
how many sales have they made?
So your conversion.
Things like that. And you've got those metrics on the one side, and then you're tracking those every week, because what that lets you do then is see if things are getting better, if things are getting worse, if there's a problem, helps you pinpoint the problem, but you're just tracking the key metrics at an individual, team, or indeed business level on a weekly basis.
But what we should do, I think we should talk Claire through the 10 rules.
Well, now she knows what a scorecard is and can visualize it so clearly thanks to my thorough description. We absolutely must talk about the 10 rules.
Okay, and number 6 is the most important one.
Oh my God.
Man.
Well, if that doesn't make you stick around, I don't know what will. But let's start at number 1, shall we? Which I think is the most underwhelming.
It is.
Well, the first rule, I'll start, shall I? The first rule of scorecards is they can't be too long. This is true of so many things, but scorecards in particular. Are you going to interrupt me?
Yes, because that's not quite the rule, is it?
Oh, what do you mean?
You've changed the rule.
What?
I mean, I wrote these rules. You can't go changing the rule.
Perhaps I was building up to then reveal the finalized rule in its true form.
Okay, so the draft outline rule is they can't be too long, but that's not the real rule.
Look, there's a bit of theatre to this, okay? Let me start a sentence and then finish the sentence. If I just start the sentence with their big reveal. Shall I just list the 10 rules
No.
now? No, let's explain the rules to people. Let's give them a little bit of context, then go into it.
Say them right.
For the avoidance of doubt, what follows is not the rule. I will then reveal the rule at the end, right? For context only.
Much happier.
The important thing is scorecards aren't too long, because if there's too many numbers, if you're tracking too much stuff, then suddenly, like we talked about with spreadsheets earlier, you become blind to it all. There's too much stuff to focus on. You want to keep things focused. And the truth is, in any role, in any team, in any business, there's only a small handful number of numbers and metrics that actually you need to track on a weekly basis to tell you whether you're having success. And I'll tell you the rule when it comes to this. The rule is that there should be a maximum of 10 numbers on any one scorecard. A maximum of 10. Not a minimum of 10. That's not a target to hit. By all means, some of the best scorecards have like 4 or 5 numbers, but maximum of 10. That's the rule.
Excellent. Well done. You delivered that wonderfully.
Well, happy to help. Do you want to share rule number 2?
No, because I want to talk about
Can't
number
wait
one
for that.
Because you know how stay above the line, everything's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to go slow, don't go low. I said that wrong.
What?
In my head.
What
That
does
was
that
so
mean?
good.
As in, don't go low on the
No,
page?
no. I said,
Because the scorecard's so
no,
long?
so you need to go low. Don't go slow, keep it low.
That's the opposite of what you said.
I know it is.
You are butchering these
man.
rules.
I do feel bad about that one.
Unbelievable. Right, just say it
That
again
was
for
terrible
clarity. What's it
delivery.
meant to be?
I hope Ryan helps me in the edit with that. to be
No,
honest.
absolutely
I
not.
know he
Leave
won't.
it in.
I know he won't do. But
Go on, give us the rhyme again.
He does owe me.
Give us the helpful rhyme.
Don't go slow, keep it low. In other words, the number of measures on your scorecard, the lower the better. The lower the better. The businesses that make the biggest progress are able to get focused. And as human beings, we can get focused on a small number of things. So Cameron is absolutely right that rule number 1 is a maximum of 10. But please don't go to 10.
If you don't need to, yeah.
Our business scorecard, we have 9 numbers on our business scorecard. But we are an 8-figure business. And most people listening to this will not, with quite a lot of different divisions, and we've only got 9, so you keep it low. And the most successful ones have like 2 or 3. We had biggest success in a couple of recent years was, the opticians in Norfolk, Matt and Ben. And long story, their entire scorecard for their business there were just 3 measures, and everyone got focused on it. And it was number of eye tests, average spend, total revenue, and everything was focused on 3 numbers. And those 3 numbers doubled that business in 18 months. Took it from 2.5 mil to 5 mil. It was, and it was all on the back of 3. So don't get hung up on 10. You can't go beyond 10, but 4, 5, 3, 6, way better.
Well,
Don't go slow. Keep it low. That's rule number 1.
Maybe not every rule needs a rhyme. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see how we get on. Rule number 2.
I think Elliott should do rule number 2.
Actually, I think you should do rule number 2.
Oh, that's great. Because no one likes rule number 2.
Okay.
I can't read my writing.
No, don't.
And I can't read Nigel's either. But I've got number 3. Prime them ready.
Okay. Don't go meekly. Track it weekly.
That's what it says.
Rule number 2 is that the numbers on your scorecard must be trackable weekly. Okay. Now, there can be occasionally exceptions to this, but your business probably isn't one of them. If there are things that happen irregularly, if you're
Well, there's ways to do it, isn't there? I think the important thing here, scorecards should be done weekly. You should look at a week window in time. That's what you're comparing. That's what you're looking at.
And the principal reason for that, just to be clear, is that when you look at your numbers in your scorecard weekly, you have 52 opportunities a year to take action and change things. Whereas if you only look at your numbers monthly, you've only got 12 opportunities a year
It's not enough.
to change things. And if you only look at your annual accounts 6 months after the year end,
my
when your
God.
accountant gives them to them, you're fucked anyway, and none of this matters. So going back to tracking weekly, Cam.
Weekly, that's the important thing. You're looking at these numbers on a weekly basis, and therefore you can't fill in a number for that week if it's not something that can be reported on or measured weekly. So most things are easy. because like number of sales, even revenue, things like that, you can just look at that week, what was the number there. There are some instances where things don't fit into a week. Maybe, you're tracking event attendance and you only do an event every month or every 2 weeks or whatever it might be, right? How do you do that? Well, you can still put that on your weekly scorecard. You just need to be smarter about the metric that you do. Rather than putting attendance that week, you could put, for example, a rolling 30-day average attendance.
Yeah.
So you're still tracking it on a weekly basis. You're still seeing it move every week, but actually rolling averages are really powerful
Or
tools.
cumulative sometimes.
Or cumulative counts, absolutely like that. So, you could have total number of attendees, and it's going up every time. And so it will be a bit lumpier. You'll see it go up a lot on some weeks, and some weeks it'll stay flat, but at least you've got it still there, tracking it on a weekly basis.
So rule number 1, 10 numbers maximum on your scorecard, Claire. Rule number 2, use the scorecard weekly. Most of the numbers on there will be trackable on a weekly basis. Rule number 3.
Rule number 3 is about the number of weeks that should be visible on your scorecard. And so your scorecard, every single time you look at it, should have at least 13 weeks worth of data visible to you. Now,
where's the rhyme?
Don't go bowling, 13 weeks rolling.
Goodness.
Okay, so why 13 weeks? Well, one of the key ways in which scorecards are incredibly useful is that you begin to look and see how these different numbers in your business change over time. And it's actually the variance in these numbers and the patterns and the trends and how they're moving that are often the source of greatest insights, because it's beautiful to see if metrics are on their way up, and simultaneously, if a metric is on its way down, then having a rolling number of 13 weeks enables you to spot that trend. And that's a really important thing, because again, in business, we're all trying to repeat and do things that are going to get us more success.
Yeah.
And by having a rolling 13 weeks, you start to build a very good picture and almost a bit of like a gut feel over time as to how the actions that you and your team are actually doing are affecting these numbers. And you kind of get the pulse of the business.
Well, yeah, it's definitely more than gut feel, isn't it? Because when you've got 13 weeks rolling, you start to see the pattern, you start to see the trend, which becomes even more important when you get to rule number 7. But before we get to rule number 7...
I was going to say, we're on rule number 4, right?
I know that, but rule number 7 helps with the 13 weeks rolling.
Wow. Put a pin in that until we get to rule number 4.
Rule number 4.
To beat the market, set a target.
Oh.
But because every number on your scorecard needs to have a target next to it, because you need to know whether you're achieving your goal or whether you're not, whether you're falling behind. And so actually, it is crucial that you don't just track these numbers, but you know whether you're on track or not. So that every dollar, whether it's number of sales, if you want salespeople to be making 6 sales a week, then that's the target. And so you need to know what that target is. And there's all sorts of different ways you can have little target rows if the target changes over time. So you can have the actual tracker for number of sales and then the target line for number of sales. Or if it's a fixed target, which is the case in some instances, if one of your KPIs is number of reviews, for example, and you just want 10 reviews a week, every week, then you've just got that logged on the side there. So then it's a fixed target. That's nice and easy. But everything needs a target.
Scorecards without targets. We're in chocolate teapot territory.
Waste of time.
Absolute waste of time. Rule number 5 builds on rule number 4. Don't play Monopoly. Set your targets properly.
Yes.
So no. Well, the targets. It's not the way people tend to tackle targets is that they look at a number. We're going to do 12. We're going to do £120,000 this year. That's £10,000 a month. That's £2,500 a week, just every week. And that's not setting the target properly. The way you set the target properly is you'd look at, who's doing? I'm doing all the sales this year. I've got to get to £120,000 this year. Now I've got 2 weeks off in August, so there'll be no sales then. We close down at Christmas for a fortnight. There'll be no sales then. We've got there's a big trade show in April that we always get a big boost there, so sales will be higher then. So we start to set the targets properly, so they actually mean something. And we're not lazy about our target setting. That's rule number 5. The targets need to be thought through. And if your target is like the same every week for 6 months or 12 months, it's a good indication that you've probably not set it properly. You've
Yeah.
been playing Monopoly.
And I think it's important that, everyone involved in the scorecard, particularly the people who, are responsible for that metric there, they need to really believe that the target that is set is the right target, is a meaningful target, because as soon as it doesn't matter whether this metric is on target or not, or, as soon as it becomes, if people think, well, I'm never going to hit that target, there's no point in even having it there, then again, it's a completely pointless exercise, isn't it?
Okay, so that's... Do you want to do number 6? Number 6 is the most important of the 10 rules.
Number 6, you must have a combination of inputs and outputs on your scorecard.
So input numbers and output numbers.
And this is very important because, yes, we want to measure things that happen in our business, which are often the outputs, such as sales and revenue and all that good stuff. But the inputs are the things that we are able to influence and control. So the inputs are the actual actions that we can take. So a common one for us is our marketing spend. Because if we have targets for booked calls and sales, we need to spend on marketing in order to do that. And if you're not tracking the marketing spend, which is the input, then it would be unreasonable to expect the outputs to just magically happen.
And for lots of businesses, it is a lack of marketing spend that leads to their problems. It's where the old famine to feast pattern that so many businesses suffer from was, we've got no customers, do some marketing. Loads of customers, stop the marketing. And they lurch from kind of one end to the other. And so marketing spend is a really good input measure, and you can track it on a weekly basis. We certainly do in our business. And it's as much a crime to underspend on the marketing scorecard as it is to overspend. Because, you'd never overspend on your marketing budgets, would you?
Never. Another good little example of this that we have with our sales team now. So we track the show-up rate of people that have booked appointments with them. And one of the inputs that they have to influence this is the number of personalized videos that they send to the prospects that are booked in a call. So if you book in a call with one of our sales team, most of the time they will send you a little video being like, hey, can't wait to see you, got the call, da-da-da-da. The logic there is that we showed their face and blah, 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 blah. But adding that onto their scorecard was the thing that finally got them to do it. Because when I first asked them and showed them about this amazing tactic, they didn't do anything for many, many weeks. But we added it to the scorecard, they started doing it, and guess what went up?
Yeah. And it's
the show rate
went up. Because it's a key input measure. And so you're willing to think about your business, and the inputs are the things that you do to bring about the results. The results are the outputs. So the sales are the outputs. The revenue is an output.
Yeah, the way to think about it is these are the lead indicators, aren't they? These are the things that if you do more of them, typically you'll get more of the outputs of the things that you're tracking there. And most people will start with the outputs. That's kind of like the end goals. So like sales, like revenue. And then you've got to stop and think, right, what do I need to make sure we do more of in order to hit our target? So back to your optician's example, like the eye tests are actually a lead indicator of the revenue, because that's the route in for a load of people. And so having your lead indicators and then, your inputs and your outputs means you've got the full picture, and you're not just a victim to what's going on. And it means you can forecast and see, because if your inputs are not on target this week, then you better believe chances are that your output measures are going to be off target next week, right?
And amateur entrepreneurs and business owners tend to have few, if any, input measures on the scorecards.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're only tracking outputs, it's like being managing a football team. You know what the score was, but you've no idea how it got there. So that's why inputs and outputs is the most important thing. So rule number 1, 10 maximum. Numbers on your scorecard, ideally, the lower the better. Must be trackable weekly. That's rule number 2. Number 3 is a rolling 13 weeks, so you can see the patterns and trends. Number 4, every number on the scorecard must have a target.
Yep.
Rule number 5, those targets must have been set properly with thought. Rule number 6, the numbers on your scorecard are input numbers and output measures. So you're tracking both inputs and outputs in your business. And rule number 7 is a really simple one. We won't spend much time on this, but every week a number is coloured either red or green.
Boom.
We prefer to colour the cell on the chart, so it's really, really obvious. So we're looking at a chart full of red and green boxes. Green is good, red is bad. Green brings bonuses, red brings pain. And in terms of seeing the patterns that Elliott talked about, rule number 3, the 13-week, when you've got a 13-week rolling and every box on your scorecard is a red or green box, you can see whether you've got a problem or not.
And this comes back to that whole, what we're talking about with the worms and how people are visual creatures. And actually, at a glance now, you can see whether the week was successful or not. Because actually, if everything's green, then... trying to think of a rhyme for that.
Yeah. Well, it's the best we've ever seen.
There you go.
Although
it might not be, but it's at least performing above target.
So, moving on to rule number 8. I'm just conscious of time, gentlemen.
Rule number 8, your scorecard doesn't need to run the whole business.
Please don't try and track everything.
This comes back to rule number 1. They sit hand in hand. They're cousins of rules, because what you'll try and do and what everyone does by default is list every single thing that they want to track in any way possible and put that on the scorecard. You don't need to do that. If you get your inputs and your outputs right, actually, you'll know that if this is green, then it means we must be doing the right things here, there, everywhere. And this is why having business scorecard, a team scorecard, individual scorecards, your own personal scorecard does not need to track every metric going on in the world.
Yeah, and focus is a really important thing. And a small number of measures that track the right things will see your business make the best possible progress. Do you want to do 9 or 10?
I'll take number 9, which I believe is that every scorecard should have a physical version printed out every single week to take this little spreadsheet and bring it into the real world. And this is a really useful way to just make sure that the scorecard is getting the attention. Because grave rule number 1 is going through the time and effort of making a scorecard and actually populating it every week, but never actually looking at it, pulling out any insight, and then changing your behavior accordingly. And the printed version does exactly that.
What time do you get to the office on a Monday morning? You specifically.
Well, about 6:30 normally.
Why do you come to work at 6:30 on a Monday morning?
Well, a big reason is because I need to prep the pack for our leadership meeting, which is at 8 a.m.
Prep the pack, a.k.a.
print the scorecard.
There we go. And
I do other stuff as well. It doesn't take me 90 minutes to print a scorecard. It's quite a small task, but that is part of what I'm doing, is preparing that pack.
And that's the point, because for our leadership team meets at 8 a.m. every Monday morning. It's the start of our week, and the meeting starts with a review of the scorecard, and we've all got it printed on a sheet of paper, A4 paper, in front of us, 13 weeks rolling. It's all there. We can see what's happening. We can spot the trends. We can see the patterns. We've got the right numbers on there, and we can therefore have the right conversations, because a good scorecard tells you where you need to focus this week. It tells you where the problems are, because it's gone red. And if it's all gone green, then it's the best we've ever seen, and we can have a great week. We can just keep it trundling along. But when we've got red, we've got to get out of bed and get it fixed.
Wow. Dr. Zeus over here.
So,
number 10.
Rule number 10.
Take us home.
Okay, so rule number 10, and this actually becomes super useful for business owners when you start to get a scorecard, because what you can then start to do is you can pass ownership of specific lines on the scorecard out to members of your team.
Mm-hmm.
So the rule is that every measure on the scorecard has an owner, someone that is responsible for that measure.
Yes.
So and that pushes down accountability and responsibility. And I mean, this all started with Claire's, letter to us. And, Claire loves that idea in a simple system that keeps my team focused and accountable and actually moving forward. And it's rule number 10 that helps it, because it's not Claire's scorecard. She needs to pass it around to the numbers. People need to take ownership of them. And the beautiful thing about that for a business owner is, you've got people on your team waking up, thinking about
their number, about their line on the scorecard.
Very powerful. Don't let those numbers be a loner. Give them an owner.
Yeah. But what does it mean?
It's the best we've ever seen. Claire, I hope that's helpful. We've kind of dissected that. I know it's taken us quite a while to get through that today, but we've covered revenue worms for you, explained all that, what should go on your scorecard, the inputs and the outputs being the really key elements there. It's definitely going to be tracked weekly, and we've talked to you a little bit about how it works in real life. I suspect we will come back to scorecards in future editions, because they are arguably the most useful tool if you are seeking to drive growth in a business.
Maybe with less rhymes.
But for today,
Maybe. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll put a nice PDF of all the rules in the notes underneath this podcast. Wherever you're watching, wherever
that'd
you're
be a
listening,
lovely thing.
go and download that. Nice little poster.
Yeah.
No rhymes included.
But
Make
for
your own
now,
rhymes.
cheerio. It's time to go.
Goodness gracious.